Sounds good. Sounds good. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Brear, and welcome to episode 65 of the 11FS Fintech Insider Breakfast Show. Do you know what? I've done that right 64 times, and now Ashok's on this time. I get it wrong. Who would have thought? All right. So in this show, we bring you the best and the brightest from around the fintech and banking landscape every single weekday, straight into your homes at 8:30 BST, here live on LinkedIn. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Ashok Vaswani, who is the CEO of Consumer Banking and Payments at Barclays. And on this morning's show, we're going to be talking about how Barclays has responded to the pandemic, the role of culture and leadership at really, really large financial services organizations, and Ashok's strategy for transatlantic banking success. All this and a lot more, I think, in terms of where we're going. So, Ashok, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I can't believe I messed up the intro when you're here. Honestly, for all of the episodes, I got that right, eh?
David, so great to be with you, and congratulations. I mean, it's fantastic the way you keep coming up with these innovative programs. Really, heartiest congratulations.
Well, it's good. We try and give somebody something bright, and watching me mess up my lines in the morning is keeps everybody entertained, at least anyway. But speaking of which, everybody who's watching this over on LinkedIn, if you've got any questions for Ashok as we go through, if you drop them into LinkedIn, and the team will pick those up and we'll weave them into the conversation as we go. I mean, Ashok, for everybody who doesn't know you, it would be great if you could give a bit of your background, because I mean, you've been in banking for a little while and had some really interesting roles over that time.
A little while, maybe you're just being kind. I've been in banking for a long period of time. I've been very blessed, David. I started my career in India. I spent time in the Middle East. I've spent time in Europe, in Brussels, then in the United States. I ran Asia Pacific for Citi out of Singapore, back to New York, and then largely speaking, London. Though I did do about a year and a half in Africa, which, by the way, was a period of my career. And then I'm kind of focused on the Europe and the US. It's been a fantastic ride. I don't think anybody could have dreamt that they'd go on this kind of journey. And I'm deeply grateful for it.
It's fantastic. And tell us a little bit about what your role is at Barclays then, because I mean, it covers a lot there, doesn't it? Consumer banking and payments. That's banking, really, isn't it? So tell us what you do at Barclays.
So, David, what I kind of oversee is all the consumer banking operations, largely speaking, UK, a bit in Europe, and then in the US. Our payments business, which is a very exciting business, very fast paced kind of business, and the private bank, which is, of course, more global in kind of nature. And so, for the most part, it's these three businesses for Barclays.
Fantastic, and it's a fantastic role. I mean, did you ever imagine growing up you'd end up being the CEO of one of the largest banks in the world? I mean, was that the thing that you were looking to do?
David, if I tell you that I grew up, I'd never even been on a plane till age 21 or maybe even 23. So all I can say is life has been kind.
Very good, very good. One of the things that always sort of strikes me with teams that I've come across that have worked with you, both present and actually past as well, if I'm honest with you, like Citi, and I mean, me and you spoke at an event recently, and you caught up with old colleagues there. But it's your passion for change. You know, it always strikes me as you really love this stuff. You know, you're really pushing an agenda and really trying to make things happen in organizations. I mean, where does that continual passion come from in terms of making these things happen? Is it because you, as you said, you didn't expect this, or is it something else?
See, David, I really believe life is too short. You got to really love what you do. If you don't love what you do, you'll never excel at it.
Mm,
I love what I do, and I sincerely get up every morning saying, how can I make a difference? How can I make a difference? How can I make it better? And I have, the opportunity to do that, and therefore I have a responsibility to do that. And I guess that's what really drives me. And
mm,
the opportunities are incredible, David. Of all people know how big the opportunity is.
mm. And that's exciting, isn't it? I mean, there's like say when
It's
there's
extremely
so much to
exciting.
do.
It's extremely exciting.
Mm. I mean, obviously, with Barclays, Barclays is I mean, it's a huge global institution, really, in terms of actually how it's been set up. But I mean, how have you guys transitioned in this period? Obviously, everything that's happened with COVID is affecting everybody. How have you gone from? I mean, I've spoken to you many times before. Never from your flat, I have to say. So, this is a first for me. But how is the transition to remote working been?
So, David, first of all, welcome home. I've never ever I've never worked from home, and therefore I'm not set up with a home office and stuff like that. Anyway,
Mm,
I'm in a little apartment in London, so I've just taken over my daughter's bedroom and converted that into an office. Basically, plonked my computer. David, it's been actually quite amazing, right? Barclays, as you correctly point out, is 328 years old.
mm.
And 328 years old, we've seen a whole bunch of things. We are older than the Bank of England. We 328 years, we've seen a lot. And therefore, when people tell me I can't change, I say, hey, change is in our DNA, right? Change is fundamental to everything that we do. And therefore, when COVID came along, I think the technology teams in particular just did a phenomenal job. I mean, David, just think about it. Uh, from about 1,500 people working at home on any given day to 70,000 people working from home literally across the globe. New
Yeah.
York, San Francisco, London, Frankfurt, Dubai, Mumbai, Manila, Singapore, Hong Kong, Tokyo. I mean, you're talking about making change at a scale which is
Mm,
incredible. And
yeah.
we managed to pull that off in less than 3 weeks.
And that's
Everything was
amazing.
mainly done, right?
Yeah.
And when it's really, I mean, it's like hats off to the technology teams who were able to kind of pull this off, right?
Mm,
And then to be able to do this, not miss a beat, and at the same time put together a framework where you can say, okay, so what are the things that we're going to do, and what are the things we're not going to do? Plus, to your point, how are we going to what are we going to do to leapfrog the business under the circumstances
mm.
and pivot the entire business, pivot the strategy, pivot everything at scale, right? It's truly remarkable.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it feels, as you say, it feels like that sort of catalyst and that change, change of that way is almost infectious, isn't it? Because people see the impact that they can have, the change that they're making to everybody's working life. I mean, that's again adding to that passion. People seeing that these things can really move. I wonder if that's actually going to be a much broader catalyst for much more significant change in organizations as well. That for me is very exciting.
Yeah. So David, I mean, look, you've been on the journey with us, so you know well, right? We went from an analog company to a digital company. Today we have in the UK we have about 9 million customers on our mobile app, 11 million digitally if you count the website as well. And the mobile app has an NPS of 72. The CMA does its own independent monitoring, as you well know, in the UK, and the app is rated the best there is in the marketplace. Taking those capabilities and landing them in the US, my God, the speed of change that we've been able to make in the US uh, has been uh, has been incredible.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, it's not only change; it's change at scale, which can have a massive impact, which is really, really fascinating.
It is. I mean, I've often said to people before. In fact, I had this conversation with Claire Calmajan a couple of weeks ago. You really look back at every so often in your career and look at the things you've done that impact millions of people's lives, and actually, for you, a change in your application, 9 million people are going to be using that. That is a big deal, isn't it? And actually through this period as well, with everything that's happened with COVID, you guys haven't slowed down in terms of the releases or the developments. I mean, you've been doing a lot to support your customers through this crisis as well, haven't you?
David, every week, literally every week, we release something new, right? Literally every week we monitor it. What are we landing? Weekly sprints, virtual agile working. Look, the only thing in your statement which which I would take, it's like a slightly different thing is I've done it. I've done nothing. I'm part of the team, and I'm just amazed. I am amazed at how the team has just got on with it, right? All I do is, can we go faster?
Yeah.
Right? That's all I do.
I think it's interesting though, because I think that tension, as you say, is that tension of, is there a better way? How are we doing enough? Are we helping people? I mean, these things lead to very different outcomes, don't they? I mean, things like you guys have done around things like digital eagles. I mean, there's no real commercial benefit to doing that, but actually there's a real significant benefit from a society perspective in terms of the benefit that you add to training people and letting people know how to get the most out of technology, right? So I think there's things like that though where you have driven that type of change, which generally I don't, speaking to a lot of senior bankers, I don't feel or I don't see that same sort of drive for consumer benefit through everybody as I do with you, which is why I always enjoy having a conversation with you, I have to say. But tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you guys have been doing through this period, because obviously you've been part of everything that's happened with C-bills and those types of things, and things like mortgage holidays for people, but there's a lot of things that you've been doing. I mean, even the Taking Code playground sessions that you guys set up. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think
Sure.
it's a really exciting opportunity to get people involved, isn't it?
Sure, David. As usual, you're very kind. Look, David, the fundamental what drives this whole thing is that I sincerely believe that every single company must have a societal purpose. It must have a societal purpose. Who needs another bank, right? I mean, literally, there's so many banks around, right? But if you solve a societal purpose, then customers will. There's no doubt that digital is the way to go, and this crisis has in fact proven that the secular change to digital has just taken a leapfrog upwards.
Yeah.
Making sure that no one is left behind in this process is really, really critical. So some of the things that we've done new, obviously we've had the Digital Eagles program, we've had the Eagle Labs program, but what are some of the new things that we've done? I don't know, David, you heard, but we just did a phenomenal deal with Nextdoor, right? Obviously, you know Nextdoor very well, and really helping our small businesses to get back on their feet, right? Barclays put together with Nextdoor, very, very powerful kind of equation, right? How do we get that going? And we've had incredible success with them. We're very, very proud of our relationship with them. Obviously, we managed to get things like bounce back loans, CBILS, and stuff like that automated in less than, literally in 3 or 4 days. We were able to kind of get done. Again, the teams have just done an incredible kind of job to do that, helping customers through financial difficulty, and then doing that completely digitally, particularly in the US, because in the UK we were waiting for the FCA and the regulators to come up with the framework. But in the US, completely digitally, right? Landed in like 4 weeks. These are complex kind of issues. The code playgrounds that you kind of talked about, right? Helping, life skills, David. Let me tell you, it's crossed 10 million people who've been through life skills. There is no more important time than to go through life skills than now, given everything that's going on, and frankly, everything that's going to come, right? So we are pushing the accelerator as hard as we can.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, you talk about that societal impact. I mean, when you sort of say that and you look at the things that you guys have done with, like, say, with Coding for Kids or Eagle Labs or anything else that the Digital Eagles program, the things that you've kind of set up, that bank being part of the community and part of society, it does play a big thread, doesn't it, through the action and the things that you put in place. I mean, how do you go about creating that? Because that's not a roadmap or an initiative. Like that's culture. That's a different approach to what your purpose is as an organization. I mean, how do you instill that? Because that's quite a difficult thing to do.
So David, I think you've hit the nail on the head, right? Ultimately, if you really think about it, it comes from a belief and a value system, and we are strong believers in having a strong purpose for the company. Our group purpose is creating opportunities to rise, right? And we've everything else kind of flows from that, right? And then if you really think about it, David, and you and I have had a number of chats about this, right? Every single company can spend a lot of money on technology.
Sure.
It's not spending money on technology that kind of differs one from the other. What really differs is how do you take and move the culture and the mindset of the organization into a different place.
100%.
If you move the culture and the mindset into a different place, you get different kind of results. And frankly, that's what I think really has been our kind of sweet spot. That's what has made the change. That has been able to allow us to accelerate the kind of transformation that we've been on. And there's a momentum that builds. And now, it's much easier now than it was, 1 year ago, much easier than it was 3 years ago, and much, much, much easier than it was 5 years ago.
Mm. Well, and that's the thing. If there's continual improvement and continually moving those things forward, I think, as you say, I think culture drives such a big part of that, doesn't it? And actually, not just from a digital adoption perspective for employees, but as you say, digital adoption from a consumer perspective. In fact, Sarah Khan has just dropped a comment over on LinkedIn saying, driving a cultural shift in digital adoption has always been amazing for Barclays, Eagles, etc. How is the bank changing that approach for a virtual world? Because obviously, getting people into an Eagles Labs or getting people into a branch to do those things, actually teaching people how to do those things remotely is a very different skill set, isn't it? In the same way as, a whole business working remotely is. So are you guys looking at how you adapt that to a remote world?
Oh, yeah. We've done the Eagle Labs, for example. They've gone full steam ahead and held, I forget the number at the top of my head, but a whole bunch of virtual kind of sessions. In fact, on one of our Rise, and this is an incident I do know, our Rise platform, which is largely a fintech platform, did a virtual demo day. The number of people we had lined up for the virtual demo day for our portfolio companies exceeded the number of participants we've ever had. And we've literally automated the entire process of running the Eagle Labs, which allows us to do it. It's on the Salesforce platform. It allows us to actually reach out into the community, and it allows us to kind of extend our reach quite dramatically. Our code playground kind of stuff, obviously that we're doing virtually. I think a lot of parents have thanked our volunteers because keeping the kids busy at home, doing good stuff like learning how to code is a blessing in these days.
Yeah, no, definitely. Having 2 kids at home during this period, definitely something to keep them entertained for a bit of time is very. We're very grateful for that, I have to say. But I guess moving on a little bit from the current crisis in terms of everything that's happening with COVID. Obviously, your role, Ashok, is because I mean I know from our conversations you've always been traveling, you've always been moving around, sort of being static during this period with everything that's happening with COVID. How are you sort of managing that with the US and the UK and further overseas?
So David, I won't kid you. It's not been it's not been easy, right? Like I said, I've never worked from home. love going to the office. I love interacting with colleagues. I learn a lot. I like meeting people because every single interaction for me is a learning opportunity, right? And that's hard to do on Zoom.
Mm.
The other thing that happens is, I find myself starting at like 8 or 8:30 in the morning and going till about 8:30, 9, 10 at night, because I deal with everything to do with London, and then I follow the sun into New York, and more particularly into Wilmington. So it seems longer hours than I've ever kind of done, sitting in one office, sitting in one kind of place.
Yeah.
But when I feel kind of a little dragged down by that, I thank my stars. We are lucky to be in this situation. I'm blessed to have a phenomenal team who are coping up with all of this, and say, hey, this too shall pass, and we will come out ahead. I will travel again. I will be with the teams again, and we will march on, right? And I'm confident of that.
Yeah. I mean, a big part of your ethos and definitely things that we've seen happen. A lot of the things that we've talked about that you've done even in the crisis or before the crisis. I mean, partnerships is a big part of Barclays. I mean, and actually quite a big focus for you, I think, particularly in the US. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I mean, why does that come so easy for you guys when, I mean, so many organizations really struggle with that type of approach?
Yeah, David, that's a fabulous question. Our U.S. business actually is a fabulous business. We have 21 partners, uh,
Wow.
big names like Uber, Wind Hotel, JetBlue, American Airlines, Apple, and 21 of those names, right?
Yeah.
And basically, the beauty of that is that I am totally focused on a given partner. Every other bank that has a partner is worried about its branded business, and it's worried about its partner business. But it's natural that the partner always comes second
Mm.
to their own brand. For me, I live and die by my partners, right? And because I live and die by my partners, I'm ready to do whatever it takes. I'm ready to co-create. I'm ready to do a whole bunch of stuff. If you take these 21 partners, just David, this is something that's gets my head to spin, right? If you take these 21 partners and add up all the customers that do business with them, right? Just take products that we have and these products into these kind of partners. And by the way, their customers have already said very loudly that what they get from the partner they really, really value.
Yeah.
So if we could land those various products using the currency that they really, really value, can you imagine the size scale of that opportunity? I am so excited about the US. I sometimes can't even sleep at night.
Well, and it's a very big geo, as you say, and actually, I mean, with those partners, you've got amazing coverage of it. I think the interesting thing to that though is again, to my point, most organizations really struggle with partners and working closely with partners who are equal size or bigger than them. I mean, some of those organizations that you just said, bigger than Barclays, and actually that's a sort of a change in the financial landscape, isn't it? Which not many organizations are really kind of getting to grips with. But that partnership model for me brings the best of both worlds to the market, and ultimately, as you say, the consumer really benefits from that, don't they?
Yeah, and David, if you say, in the US, there is no fallback.
Mm.
Our stated strategy is we're not going to do branded. We're only going to be the best partner there is. That's it. That's the reason we exist.
Yeah.
Right. And then taking those learnings and hopefully bringing them across the pond to Europe and the UK.
Mm. Exciting. Question for you over on LinkedIn from Malcolm Fleming. So, I mean, given all of this change, given the progress that you guys are making, how far through your digital journey do you think the bank has got to go? Because you guys have done an amazing amount, but do you still feel that there's lots still to be done?
Malcolm, that's a great question, right? And honestly, the way I think about it is that there's a lot, there are various stages in this journey, right? The first stage when all of this happened was really publishing a brochureware. Then it was transactional capability. Then it was, a little more. I think that given where we are today, uh, digital will afford us to create new business models, right? And there are a couple of new business models that I'm kind of working on with the team, and it's just been phenomenal as to where this can go. Look, technology and digital is a massive leveler, and therefore the lines between industries is blurring, right? And if you say money is something that's common, or finance is something that's common, then you can just see how this blur can allow us to play a much, much, much bigger role in the whole ecosystem. And the opportunities again become very, very significant. The
Mm.
question is, where are you going to put your bets and how you're going to take it forward?
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and that's exciting. I mean, to close out, because I mean we're coming to the top of the hour now, and I know people have got these to kind of go into. But I mean, I said at the top of this, whenever we talk, it's the sort of passion that comes through, the sort of optimistic view of actually what can be done and what the opportunities are. I mean, how do you keep that focus? How do you sort of stay motivated? I mean, particularly in this period, how are you able to kind of keep that focus and keep that motivation going?
David, like you, cynics and skeptics never change the world, right? You got to take a positive attitude and say, hey, we're going to do something about it. What's the point of complaining? What are you going to do about it, right? What have you done? And if every single day, each one of us even take a small step to make things better, the cumulative impact of that has to be pretty significant, right?
Very, very much agree. Very much agree with that. I think passion and positivity can get you a long way, can't they, in terms of making things happen and making changes happen. But Ashok, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate you taking the time this morning. For anybody who wants to connect, where can they find you on social, or where can they find out more about what you're doing at Barclays?
Hey, David, LinkedIn. For starters, LinkedIn, right?
Fantastic.
Uh, but David, thank you so much. And once again, I applaud the kind of innovative stuff you keep coming up with your team. They do a fabulous job.
They do. I think both of the things that we can definitely agree between the two of us is having a fantastic team makes things a little bit easier, doesn't it? So,
That that is spot on.
fantastic. All right, guys, that's all we have for you today, I'm afraid, but we will be back tomorrow where I'm going to be to you David Fiasso, who is a co-founder of Wealth 8. If you don't know Wealth 8, they're a digital wealth management service for women and millennials of African heritage. Going to be a really, really, really interesting show. Very much looking forward to seeing how they're getting on with the product there as well. All we have for you today, I'm afraid, though, so we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you.